We're going to call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Okay, Mayor Westergaard.
Yep.
Waltman.
Yes.
Cleveland.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Huss.
Here.
Stankamp.
Here. Public forum. Anybody here for anything other than the goose and the HPC? Consent agenda. Any additions, corrections? If not, we need a motion to approve.
Also move.
Second.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Huss.
Yes.
Stankamp.
Yes.
Waltman.
Yes.
Cleveland.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes. Okay, we're going to open the public hearing on the waterfowl management. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. I'll call on you. Come to the podium, state your name and what you'd like to say. Keep it under 5 minutes if you would.
I've asked Clint or Kirby if maybe they could
Yep.
come talk a little bit. But even before we get into that, I just want people to know that the waterfowl management plan that's proposed is basically just a three-pronged plan. And the first prong is that we would try to do what we can to educate the public not to feed the waterfowl. Okay, that's just an encouragement for them to stay. Second thing involves some periodic harassment of the waterfowl, particularly the geese, and this would be done by shooting cracker shells, regularly shooting cracker shells over congregated geese there. And then the third thing, and I'm sure the most interesting to a lot of folks, would be about how hunting would be allowed in the town bay. So just painting with a real broad brush here, hunting is allowed in town bay in the same way that it would be allowed on any place in the water in the state of Iowa. So what we're saying is that if you can meet the DNR requirements on hunting, that just the fact that it's inside the city limits, which is some question on that and some jurisdiction on water, but anyway, just because it's inside the city limits, that the hunting restriction would not necessarily apply. So we got a couple of DNR officials that we've asked to explain some of the hunting regulations. So we got Clint and Kirby, and they're both here to help us out on that. If either one or both of you want to start us off.
Sure. Well, I'm Clint Maddox. I'm the wildlife biologist for the 6-county area, Sac County being one of those counties. And a while ago, the city kind of came to the DNR and asked for a goose management plan, so to speak, because there was some concern over the number of geese congregating in Town Bay specifically. Some of the issue was with goose species in high public use areas where the concerts are going on in the green space down there, the sidewalk, stuff like that, where water carnival goes on. And then some of the issue was with the buildup of goose poop on the ice when we had the winter kind of congregation of geese on the aeration holes there. So our depredation technician, Maury Mum, put together this plan. The city chose kind of 3 different elements of that plan, so to speak, that they would kind of want to implement, which Scott kind of covered: the no feeding, encourage basically the hunting in and around Town Bay, and the harassment of geese during the summer and winter months. The hunting season, like Scott said, if you look at like the picture of Black Hawk Lake, what Scott was talking about, the city limit boundaries had went across the majority of Town Bay, but that Town Bay is, Black Hawk Lake is a sovereign water body which is governed by the state, not to be governed by any municipality, which would include the city of Lakeview. So hunting is allowed on the entirety of Black Hawk Lake, with the exception of the 200-yard rule, which the DNR enforces, which basically means that no shots can be fired from anybody in an attempt to take waterfowl in this case, but any kind of game, within 200 yards of an occupied structure. So that would be any residence that's inhabited at any time, and it also includes livestock feeding operations, which might not necessarily pertain in this case. So what we're interested in, I guess, in this case is basically the constant harassment of Canada geese. Hunting is an efficient method to do that. It's not necessarily that we want every goose that utilizes Black Hawk Lake to end up in somebody's hand, you know, with that they've been harvested by a hunter. It's more so that the constant harassment in and around this area will make it a little bit less favorable for geese to, it's basically we've created a goose refuge. in a sense, in that area, and that's why they come in. And there's a lot of folks, I think, that hunt Black Hawk Lake and then hunt the public ground to the south of town, that would actually benefit from this as well, because we're gonna be pushing those geese out of a place where they constantly feel safe into a place where they're gonna get harassed by hunters, whether they end up being taken by a hunter or not. This area becomes a hostile area for them, and they're not gonna wanna come back with as much frequency, so. The issue too, I guess, would be if you open up an area for waterfowl hunting, in general, it's not just limited to Canada geese. So there could be, any kind of migratory waterfowl could be taken in that area, which would include ducks as well. Scott kind of asked me to run through a little bit of the hunting season and kind of dates with you. Teal season just started Saturday, which is our early duck season. It runs through the first 3 weeks of September, so it closes on the 20th. Ducks for the most part open up, we've got an early season on those that open up October 3rd and close the 18th, and then reopens October 24th and closes December 6th. And then goose season, which includes Canada geese, opens up September 26th and closes January 1st. So that would be the time frames, I guess, that we're talking about, in which people would be, hunting these waterfowl in this area. So I didn't have too much else to say. I guess our state regulations limit all waterfowl hunting to non-toxic shot, which would be no lead. That was passed, I think, in early 90s, Kirby 91-ish. Sounds right, 91. So that would be no different on Black Hawk Lake as well, or any of the vicinity. It's all non-toxic shot, so no lead. There's a lot of areas. I think everybody kind of got a map, maybe in that stuff that Scott sent out.
If you didn't get maps, I gave Clint a bunch more.
If anybody would like a map to kind of look at what we're talking about this, we've got extras over here.
Yep. You're welcome.
And Kirby's also got a bunch of these little cards too, which have waterfowl regulations on them. And then our hunting booklets as well, which have regulations in them as well.
Is there some reason he has to use the microphone?
So,
Can you not hear him? I'll tell him to speak louder if you can't hear him.
so basically, what we're looking at with this map is every little red dot, which are kind of hard to see, but every structure, or pretty much every structure around the lake, I tried to put a red dot on, and then I buffered that with a 200-yard circle, in a sense, to basically create an image which shows what portions of Black Hawk Lake are in fact huntable water. And as you can see, there's a good portion of Town Bay that nobody could ever fire a firearm in. Based on our regulations, the state regulations of no discharging weapons within 200 yards of occupied structures. So there's a big part of the east end of the lake would be open. Whether or not people would actually utilize that for hunting, that's open currently. So there's no changes that we're trying to make, I guess, as the DNR. We're just trying to illustrate a portion of the plan that the city would like to adopt and answer any questions. So this map is not, I can't guarantee its accuracy 100%. This is just kind of what I figured for every occupied structure and then covered that. So it's kind of just to help illustrate, like I said. I don't know if Kirby, you have anything to add? I could field any questions, I guess, or concerns that anybody had from a hunter safety standpoint or anything like that.
I wanted to ask about, are the geese attracted to the town bay because of the open water? And is it necessary still to have that open water?
Are you talking about in the winter months?
Yeah.
Yes, the geese are attracted to Town Bay in winter because the aerators are running.
Right.
It's kind of funny, we run weekly waterfowl counts where we have targeted areas where we count how many ducks and geese are utilizing these areas as a part of it, basically document the migration period. You can really see when other areas freeze up. We get a huge increase in Town Bay. Last year we were probably running around Black Hawk Lake and any of the pits, like south of town, the Hallett's Quarry piece over there on the other side of the, or west side of the road, that stays open pretty late because it's deep, so we count those geese as well. But I think we were running somewhere around, 1,500 geese total around the town of Lakeview. And then when Storm Lake closed up 100% with ice, that jumped to about 6,000 geese. So,
But are the aerators, I mean, I
necessary?
lived here before there were aerators. I just wondered, is it really necessary to keep those going?
Yeah, Ben Wallace could comment better on that, my counterpart, the fisheries biologist, but he would, I feel strongly he would say yes. From my understanding, Black Hawk Lake used to have a history of winter kills, just due to low dissolved oxygen levels in the lake. That's kind of a safety net, if you will, to prevent against those winter kills. It's not to say that, especially with the reduction in rough fish in the lake, there's a lot more empty area for those fish. There's not as much biomass in the lake with all those carp and bullheads that there used to be. So I think the chance of having a winter kill would be lower, but Ben will probably always hedge his bets on running those aerators just because he doesn't want to have a 100% winter kill in the lake and lose all the fish. So. But that is something that we've talked about, whether that's necessary or not, because if you could shut those off, that would solve part of the problem. Yeah.
Well, the fish used to really be, this used to be a really good fishing lake when I was a kid growing up, and there were no aerators, and that's kind of why I was asking.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Last time you was here, I made the comment, why don't you raise the geese limit to 10?
Right.
And you guys said, well, that wouldn't make any difference.
Well, I have absolutely no control over how many geese
Well,
we shoot
who
per
does?
day.
I mean, now they lowered it down to 2.
The federal government does. And it's 2, what is it, Kirby, 2 for a certain period of time, and then it's 3?
And it goes up to 3.
Yeah. So the 2, basically for the earlier part of our waterfowl season, is to protect our local geese. And I know that kind of sounds funny if you're in an area that has high goose numbers, but there are areas of the state that have lower goose numbers, and it's kind of a statewide daily bag limit. The 3 is to take into account the migratory geese that we're getting from up north, because a lot of the geese that we see on Town Bay in the winter probably aren't raised here. They sure could be, but not all 6,000 that we saw in January last year were raised around here. A lot of them are migratory birds from probably Canada, Minnesota, and the Dakotas. So that 3 daily bag limit, I guess, would kind of have an effect on the numbers that we see around here in the winter, but not necessarily like you're getting at, not necessarily the summer. Probably.
Earlier in the season, that's the best time to kill geese.
Yes and no, yeah. They're a little bit more naive at that time of the year, especially the young ones, but yeah. No, I have no control over that. I mean, I have a say, I guess, if I'm a representative of a community that says we'd like to see more, but I can tell you that's not gonna get me very far. It's set by the federal government, and it's a whole Mississippi Flyway Council meeting that they go to set those. So basically however many states are in that, go to meetings, 13 states or something like that, and agree on what they're gonna have throughout the whole Mississippi Flyway.
So if these aerators wasn't on, would these birds more prefer to migrate if they didn't have a place to land?
Yes. We see it up at, Black Hawk Lake would freeze up a heck of a lot faster than Storm Lake because there's a lot less volume in the lake. It would get colder faster, it would freeze up faster. And the last few years, since I've been around here, in the last 5 years, Storm Lake has frozen up 100%, so those geese will move on. That would happen here as well, and it would probably happen earlier, because geese are capable of keeping a hole open a lot longer than people probably think. You know, I mean, it can be 10 below and no aerators on, and if you got 1,000 geese out there, they'll keep an open spot for them to roost on. The other thing that's kind of an issue, I mean, we've had the last few years, is we haven't had a heck of a lot of snowfall in certain areas. That's another limiting factor for geese in the winter. You can keep an open hole, but if you've got 3 feet of snow across all your fields, they'll leave because they can't dig for food. But if they've got dusted off top, the crop fields and stuff, or we only get 6 inches of snow, then it melts, and we get another 2 inches and it melts, there's always a spot for them to pick up waste grain and stuff.
So the boys are supposed to come, that town a little bit, so as much don't go over.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and it's possible, I mean, last time Ben was here, we kind of talked about, when Maury was here, I think, we talked about whether it was necessary, if we do actually achieve the goal of main lake dredging, after that, is it necessary to run the aerators? I don't know the answer to that. I think Ben had kind of said last time he was here a month or so ago, 2 months ago, that he would probably hedge his bets deep in the lake to an average depth of 12 foot. He would still probably hedge his bets on running the aerators. But after a few years, if that happens and our dissolved oxygen levels stay at a certain, higher level than we're used to in this lake, you may be able to shut the aerators off, let this freeze over for a few weeks or something like that, push those out of here, and then we can turn them back on before the dissolved oxygen levels really dip down.
Didn't he do that 2 years ago?
He tried that, yeah, and there was still a lot of birds up
Storm Lake was
north.
still open.
Yeah, Storm Lake, Okoboji, stuff like that, they were still open, so those birds just came as far south as they needed to, really.
And then when we turned ours on, and we started making that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Can you talk maybe just a little bit, Clint, about hunting from state park land?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna jump over to this big map here if nobody minds. So a lot of the stuff south of town, basically in the game area in Blackhawk Marsh, the pit south of town, the state-owned area, excuse me, that's all open for public hunting. We don't regulate that. I mean, as far as where you can shoot, the same thing, 200 yards from an occupied building. The state park ground that Scott was talking about, Ice House Point, Shotgun Hill, any of this stuff down here, that's state park ground. So no hunting in state parks. But Blackhawk Lake being a sovereign water body, you can hunt in the water, if that makes sense. So right now as it stands, this area over here on Shotgun Hill would be 200 yards away from any occupied buildings. So a person could feasibly hunt there, but they can't do it from shore, or they can't do it from above the ordinary high water line, if that makes sense. So, and that's something that Kirby over there, our law enforcement person, will kind of have to enforce, just like he does anywhere else. This is no different scenario, but, so basically what I'm saying is, this is boat hunting, for the most part. Theoretically, you could walk across the state park ground with, I'm assuming, an unloaded firearm, step into the water, where you're in sovereign water, load it, and then shoot waterfowl, as long as you're not up on the state park ground. I know it's goofy, but you'd never be able to retrieve your birds from that area anyway. So I guess from a feasibility standpoint, nobody can really come in here and just walk in and hunt that, because I guess if you had a dog you could, but that's another set of rules in a state park. Dogs on leashes, so.
So if he's on the water though, he wouldn't
Not
matter.
if he's in the water, he's fine. But if he steps up there on the bank, he needs a leash on him. So,
That's the rules.
plenty of them.
Yeah.
I've got duck hunters at camp right across the road from me by the boat ramp.
On the inlet down there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they camp overnight.
Yeah.
There's no camping there.
Is it posted no camping?
No, but there's other places that aren't posted, but I mean, you gotta camp in a campground, I thought.
Technically, you can camp on, and Kirby, correct me if I'm wrong, you can camp on any wildlife management area, not state park. So basically, a wildlife management area, hunting area. You can camp as long as, unless otherwise posted.
So if somebody wanted to camp in a game reserve, you can go down there and camp?
Yep.
Know that.
Yeah, plenty of them. I don't even know them all.
Will they put electricity down there then?
You can pull on in there.
Primitive camping only. But yeah, unless otherwise posted, I mean, you could go down to the marsh south of town and walk in with a tent and throw it up and camp. Not a lot of people do that,
No, I
but
think it was
you
lazy.
can. Now, there's probably a fine line between camping and squatting too, so if somebody just set up shop in there or build a cabin, we might have to do something. But Does anybody else have any questions on enforcement, what we can and can't do on sovereign water or wildlife management areas? Or geese in general?
Just the only other issue that had been brought up to me is how far does birdshot fly? You know, and is there any,
I would-
especially being a shoreline neighbor, is there any concerns?
Yes and no. There's always concerns. I mean, the 200-yard rule that we kind of set in place is considered a safe and especially a non-lethal distance when we're talking about birdshot specifically. As far as how far birdshot will fly, I won't answer that because I can't tell you. I could give you windows, but there's so many variables. What if a person's shooting steel or some of these denser heavy metals like heavy shot? A lot of people make stuff that's a lot more comparable as far as trajectories and densities to lead. Anymore, it's a heck of a lot more expensive for a lot of guys don't shoot it. But that'll travel somewhat closer to what lead would. Steel would travel a heck of a lot less. It depends on wind direction, muzzle velocity, basically the angle that you're shooting into the air at the time. From where we're talking about here, I don't have concerns shooting across the lake. It would be if somebody was pushing the envelope towards the 200-yard and then angled something into town or something like that. But again, the 200 yards a non-lethal, for sure, a non-lethal distance.
And there's other applicable laws besides the 200 yards. There's vandalism, reckless use of the firearm, all sorts of laws to choose from if a hunter is being callous and uncaring. But hopefully if they're pushing the limits, hopefully they're using some discretion.
Right. And what we talked about doing in some of these areas where it would be feasible to claim ignorance if somebody walked into the state park or if somebody came around here in a boat and was trying to find a place up against shore to put their boat and throw out their decoys and duck hunt or something like that. I talked to the state park guys about we could put out some signs basically right on the edge of the shore that we do on wildlife management areas where if you've got a house and we buy the property around the house or something like that, we'll post stuff where it's legal to shoot and where it's not. So that would be another thing that we could do, I guess, just from to advise people where it's feasible or legal to hunt and where it's not.
So is it legal to shoot off our beach down here then? You don't have to be in the water?
Where are we talking? At the city beach down here?
Yeah.
I guess I'd answer that, Gus, that if you're on land in the city, we have a prohibition against firing a firearm.
Right.
So you gotta be in the water on the city side
Yeah.
too then? Okay.
Technically, yes, you do. Yeah. Yep. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I can shoot.
Does the public have any questions for the council? If not, we're going to close the hearing. We'll need a motion from the council if they want to approve this plan.
So what we got?
The only one we got.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Cleveland.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Huss.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
That was our resolution.
Yep. Yeah, so that is approved.
Okay, we'll move on to the Historic Preservation Commission about the enhancements.
Right here?
Works good.
You bet.
All right, we talked about some things down there. Do you just want me to kind of review what we did down there?
Just a short one.
A short review?
Yep.
Okay, what we're proposing to do is beautify the Chief Blackhawk area by running a diagonal fence from the street, fence and sidewalk from the street, down about 60 foot and loop in front of the chief. There'd be a kiosk down there inside the sidewalk, inside the fence, kind of explain why you can see the water and you can't touch it, you know, and about the history of it, and it also would speak towards the rock that sits in the background. We did, I guess we're asking that we could provide some parking in the, off the street. We want the parking, we decided to go with I call it extended parallel parking, so that vehicles could park there, much like the turning lane is there for the, on the west side of the driveway, exit driveway, and then also that would leave room in case a large bus would stop and want to drop some people off. We proposing to have approximately $20,000 is what we're looking at, and we I guess want to have kind of some approval to go forth with this a little bit deeper and bring back something to you in concrete, a real solid plan at your next meeting.
So we would have to have the plan plus bids by the next meeting?
Contractor's bids?
Pretty
Well,
much
you
just
mean
that,
bids or estimates?
Bids.
We gotta be,
Is that what
you
you
really
said?
have to be working on the bids at the time, just
Yeah,
for the
right.
timeline for this grant.
Right,
Yeah.
so it's, no, I'm talking that, yeah, so you want, that,
Two separate things.
Cleveland says we will bid this for, we'll do it for this work, the dirt work, something like that. That's
Or
what-
the
I
whole
mean,
project needs to be bid.
Yeah, but they've gotta be the individual things
Down
within it.
for the
Yeah.
individual subs, yeah.
Individual subs, what we've gotta have, not just a total, but
Yeah.
for each individual part.
So what we're looking at is a final proposal from them, from you guys, and then the final bids.
That
So
would be
we
included
can-
in that.
So we can apply for the grant
Yeah.
at the same time, basically, or simultaneously.
Well, it's like you said, you'd
Pretty
have to
close.
you'd have to have the contractor estimates, and then put them all together, so you get the final.
Yeah.
That's why.
And whether they're all done by the
Yeah.
21st, at least they gotta be coming together by then, because we need them for sure by the 28th.
20,
Okay,
right.
yeah, just so you're clear, John.
Yeah, no, I'm clear, yeah, I didn't know what,
And everybody else was clear.
yeah.
We'll just need a motion from the council for permission to proceed.
So move.
Second,
Roll call?
Okay, Wiltman,
Yes.
Huss,
yes.
Reese, Cleveland,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, John. Got your work cut out
Hey,
for you.
thank you,
Thank you.
Question. Is the deadline for applying for that grant the 28th?
Okay, we're going to go over the other grants we're looking for.
It's up to you.
I
Yeah.
want your chair. They turned the arrow on the left, right? I didn't know that.
It kicked on by
Yeah, all
itself.
the hot air's done now, so.
Well, I'm cleaning out a room, didn't it?
We had talked about this briefly at the last meeting. I guess I would just highlight a couple things we talked about. Would be streetlights down at that intersection of 3rd Street and Vine. This would be 3 streetscape lights down there, and they would run about a total of about $10,000. And so we would apply for half grant funding on that. We budgeted for that entire project. So we would have money available, but we wouldn't do it till next spring anyway. We'd just well apply for some grant funding to pay for half. The other one would be to apply for half of the cost of the billboard. The billboard is about $13,000. We did get a state grant for $4,000, but we would still apply for half the total cost. So if we get everything, we could have a large portion of that whole project paid for. I guess that would be my suggestion on a couple projects that we would apply for, in addition to the chief project then too.
Everybody okay with that?
Perfect.
What, how do you know it costs 13,000?
Just, we have a quote from the billboard company. Yes.
That's about what the other one was up on 20.
We got the quote from,
Getting it for one person or?
just for a quote so far, yeah.
For a quote, yeah. I can't imagine if we put up the posts, and run the electricity and do all the other stuff,
solar power, so
Solar.
there's no electricity.
electricity.
But, man, it's,
They're providing the solar power?
yeah, that's part of the contract cost.
This is a guy out of Sioux Rapids or Storm Lake something,
But
wasn't it?
that's
The
a,
sign shop's out of Storm Lake.
Yeah.
but that's a permanent, that ain't like, it runs out in, you know, like some of these, like these car dealers, say the car dealers out here that advertise on their billboards, they run out in what?
Yeah, they rent
A
them by
year?
the month,
By a
and
month,
we
yeah.
own our own, and it's,
Right.
you know, it's there forever, so long as we keep a good vinyl covering on it,
Mhm.
and those are $500 for a vinyl covering.
Spent a lot of money. They
It
just
is.
put plywood up on it.
Yep, it's a racket.
On our poles.
I wanna get in on
We
that.
even put poles in.
But it's all, you know, everything, you look at
That's what
anything,
it
it
is.
costs money. you know.
Yeah, it all costs money, and that's, but, you know, it's all wind rated up to hurricane strength winds and all of this other stuff, and guaranteed, and they replace it when you do have damages, and, I mean, there's justification for it, it just seems terribly high priced, you're right.
But if you can do it for 10, we might take your bid.
There you go.
I want that
But
same
it-
guarantee, though.
So what you're saying, it's more than just a piece of plywood on a couple posts.
And it's all
Yep.
metal too. I mean, it's, yeah, they're all metal. Sheeting behind it, everything's metal.
So we need a motion to apply for these 3 separate.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second.
You want to go ahead.
roll call.
Okay, Stankin.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Cleveland.
Yes.
Waltman.
Yes.
Huss.
Yes.
Okay, we have the resolution 1519, granting the zoning variance for Marion.
Okay, so, Marion Reader Godwin, she's out at 231 Crescent Park, is moving up here to become a full-time citizen. She wanted to put a 2-car garage on the back side of her home, which would then go out to Crescent Park Drive. That's the back side, the street side out there. And so we put this 2-car garage on, and then would also have a 2nd-story living quarters above it. Okay, so she had initially applied for a variance so she could construct a 2-story building. 1-story garage, 2nd-story living structure. When you do that, the side yard setbacks change. If you build a single-story structure, side yard setbacks are only 4 feet. If you build a 2-story structure, side yard setbacks become 6 feet. And especially out there on those lake lots, that really impacts people and what they can do for a project. So she had asked for a variance on the side yard, and then also asked for a variance on the rear yard. 10 feet is required on the rear yard, and she would propose to be 8 foot 6 inches instead of 10 feet. So as we talked more and more, the board was not agreeable to this notion of granting her the side yard setback variances out there. Again, it gets pretty close. If it's a true 2-story building, gets real close side to side. The object, or the reason for having that 6-foot setback on the side is it's just an open space concept, that as you go up, you also need some additional open space on the side. So anyway, they were not agreeable, would not grant that variance. They did grant a variance on the rear just for the garage. So the variance that we would vote on tonight is just a variance on the back property line to be 8 foot 6 inches instead of 10 feet off that back lot line. So that is the thing that actually be voted on. But as we talk through these things with her, she still will largely be able to do the project that she would like to do, and it'd just be that she'd put a 1.5-story structure there instead of a full 2-story structure. And then actually a 1.5-story structure is built on single-story setbacks, only 4 feet. And you could, what she'll do is have a part of the 2nd story meet the half-story guidelines, which is interior walls no more than 4 feet. So some areas will have these real short walls inside, but the remainder of it will be a large dormer. It'll look like a 2-story house. And a real good example of that is Schaefer's right across in the mayor's backyard. That new house back there still meets the requirements of being a 1.5 stories, even though it largely looks like a 2-story home.
Kind of like the old one was built, the old farmhouses.
Yeah, they have big dormers on them.
Yeah.
Really.
So the issue before the council tonight, though, is the resolution that would grant the rear yard variance only. And
She don't need one on the side.
she does not need one on the side. She's gonna do a story and a half, and she doesn't need one
I
there.
know, I sat in on that meeting, and that was a hard decision for the whole committee, because, I mean, they had two motions that failed before we got to that point, but in the end, she was okay with it.
She's
Yeah,
okay with
she
it.
was happy.
I think everybody was happy, the committee and the resident, so, all in all, it was a good thing,
Win-win situation.
yeah.
When the Board of Adjustment brings something, when they approve something and it comes to the city council's decision can only be that you would approve it or remand it back to the board. You cannot disapprove it. Okay, so if you would have any concerns, you would remand it back to the board. Otherwise, you would approve it, and then this resolution is what gets recorded on the property. So,
That 8.5 foot setback on the backyard, that matches up with what's on the north side of the road already anyway.
yeah, on the north side, and
So
and it's
then
within a few inches of the wall.
Yeah, it's
Excuse
pretty
me.
close to what the neighbors
On the
are,
other side,
so, I
too,
mean,
so.
it's all pretty much in line, so.
Sounds like it.
I make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
1519, correct?
Yep.
Roll
Yes.
call. Yep, roll call.
Okay. Huss.
Yes.
Boltman.
Yes.
Stankin.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Cleveland.
Yes.
Now we'll need a motion to approve the building permit.
I need to withdraw that. We did not get the amended building permit in yet. We don't have it, so
Okay.
we can withdraw that.
Okay, 1520 is the street financial report.
This is a requirement that we need to do every year. The bulk of the report's on page 15, and this just shows the amount of spending that we do in regards to streets, where the money comes from, and then how it's spent. So largely our money for the streets comes from road use tax or from debt service levy, and that we're paying debt service on the streetscape project yet, or special assessments on from boulders on Boulders Drive. And the expenses then being some on street maintenance. We spend about $76,000 per year on street maintenance. Now that includes half a lawn's salary, so a good portion of that is salary. So last year, $7,700 in snow and ice, and we get reimbursed like $5,700 from the DOT for snow removal operations there. So it pays for a good part of our snow removal cost. Construction costs, we didn't really have a bunch of construction costs last year. Those are actually transfers into our set-aside fund, so we're ready for next year. And see the bolded number, second line from the bottom, that's the balance that we have in regards to transportation-related funds right now, $96,000.
Any questions?
That the DOT requires that this be approved by resolution. This is formatted as a resolution.
So move.
Second? I'll second. Roll call.
Boltman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Huss. Yes. Reese.
Yes.
Cleveland.
Yes.
Okay, we have the addendum from the Hometown Pride. We're just trying to cover their rear ends.
The gist of this thing is that if any of the Hometown Pride committees have an event, sponsors an event, basically this holds the Hometown Pride organization and Keep Iowa Beautiful harmless. They are requiring this of all of their Hometown Pride counties. So there's 5 counties. They're all being asked to do the same thing.
Anybody have any questions? Hopefully we have a motion to approve that.
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Thank you.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Cleveland.
Yes.
Waltman.
Yes.
Huss.
Yes.
And we have our lease ready.
Yeah, the community sign lease, that's on page 17, but that's the same community sign lease that we had in place with Peters as beforehand. And the dollar amount is the same, it's $75 per year. Bonnie Peters has been all paid up to date, so we're good to go on that. And actually, the Peters brothers' only suggestion here was that we extend the term, so it's now for 10 years instead of 5 years at the same rate. So anyway, they've all signed and
I think the only
waiting
thing
council.
they really wanted was someone to mow that instead of just mowing around it.
Right.
They just want to
One
take
more
care of it
leak,
better out
right.
there.
Make it look better.
Yeah, can't blame them.
True.
Any motion to approve that, Reese?
So moved.
I'll
Second,
second it.
roll call.
Boltman.
Yep.
Cleveland.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Huss.
Yes.
Stankin.
Yes.
Okay, Murr Engineering. Did we get that all straightened out?
We did, so, and that is the agreement that is here at the table tonight. Erin had several changes that she had proposed to them, and they did accept all of the changes less one. We had wrote in $2 million on some of their insurance, and they'll carry $1 million. And some stuff about as-built plans, that the as-built plans are actually created by the contractor in this case, since we're not having them do complete resident observations. We felt pretty good about it. Erin was okay then with the changes, and we should be ready to go.
We have a motion to approve the contract.
Also moved.
Second,
I'll second.
roll call.
Huss.
Yes.
Stankin.
Yes.
Waltman.
Yes.
Cleveland.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Okay, our water utilities inspection, which we had years ago.
The inspection was a couple months ago. And that starts on page 18, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about the system itself as it's describing the system. What I really want to go through with you, though, is on page 21. And this is the end results, and this is the result of the inspection. Top of the page on page 21, significant deficiencies. There were no significant deficiencies. Minor deficiencies. The system does not know if they have the required 200 feet of legal control around well number 4. Well, what that's saying is that we need to have control of the land around any of our public wells for 200 feet. That is either that you own that land or that you have some regulations in place about what type of use is permitted on that land. And a lot of it has to do with septic tanks and where drains can go and things that would potentially contaminate the public well. Well, as we get into this a little deeper, we'll go through that proposed ordinance. We had that proposed ordinance in an earlier version of our code, and I'm going to tell you that when we recodified last time, it got taken out. So as I'm looking back through the old code to find this thing, and confirmed with the DNR that yes, in fact, that is what they're looking for. So we just need to get that put back in our code, and we would meet that requirement. Measure, second thing about a deficiency, measure static pumping levels in both wells. They're wanting to know drawdown on the wells as they're being pumped. So, and that's done, I couldn't exactly tell you how it's done, but it takes some compressed air, and you do a compressed air test on it, is what you're doing, pressure, and you can figure out how much the drawdown is on that.
You used to have twins stringing them out. Well, I mean, that's what we did, you know? Pump it down and, let it pump and then measure it once more, to see how much it dropped,
That's kind of the idea.
Are we gonna have to do this 3 times?
The ordinance?
Yeah.
We will, yeah. Other requirements, put some new labels on day tanks. Those are done. Replace the screen on the tank, on the water tower. It's done, but then it's coming right off again when it gets painted. So not really done, but it'll be properly fixed after the paint job. Collect bacteria samples following the inspection and cleaning and maintenance and painting. So that'll all be taken care of. The other big one is resume testing for manganese. And we have not had to test for manganese here for years. And we're still doing some checking into this as far as what type of test is required for manganese. There's a high level test or a low level test, and we need to figure out which one we fall into, because it's different testing methods and different testing equipment that's needed to do it. But just, I guess, a heads up more than anything else, this could end up being a big deal. It could end up being costly in order to have the right equipment to test for manganese, something that is, it's not been a big issue for us at all.
What was it they had years ago when we pumped all that water into Arrowhead.
Tetrachloroethylene.
And that was supposed to disappear after you run it through the faucet and the air hit it.
It aerates, yeah. That aerates out, but we still test for tetrachloroethylene. Which was always explained to me that's like a dry cleaning chemical. Anyway, so those are the requirements as far as what needed to happen, so. Everything was actually fine on the sanitary inspection, everything was okay. DNR seemed pretty pleased with everything, but we do need to get this ordinance thing taken care of then. So that starts on page 22. And again, what this is going to do is say within these number of feet of a well, of a public well, you can't do these certain things. So you can't have the well house floor drain within 5 feet of the well. You know, and in this case, it doesn't matter. We're a long ways away from that. Or the water treatment plant waste within 50 feet. But this does come into play, you know, like 5 if we have floor drains to sewers, you know, that could potentially be something from a neighboring house or something like that. Now, it's not. It goes, those all go out to the front to the streets. But anyway, this is something that, like I say, we had in the past. DNR was very content with, and we can get back in their good graces if we can get that reinstituted.
We had this instituted once, right?
Yes.
You said?
Yep.
Can we waive the second and third?
Yeah.
You can, sure.
We need a motion on the ordinance 470, the first one.
Yes. This would be first reading.
First reading, we have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Okay, Steinkamp.
Yes.
Huss.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Cleveland.
Yes.
Waltman.
Yes.
We could have a motion to waive the second and third readings.
Also move.
Second.
Roll call.
Huss.
Yes.
Waltman.
Yes.
Steinkamp.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Cleveland.
Yes.
I want one more motion, then it's to finally approve.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Cleveland.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Huss.
Yes.
Steinkamp.
Yes.
Waltman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, city administrator report.
We got to come up with a custodian for City Hall. Past couple times that we've hired somebody, we just hired them as an employee. They've been hired as an employee before. Or we have also hired them as contractor. I just wanted to see if you guys had any input on that as far as, you know, would you like to go back with a cleaning company and contract that to somebody, or would you look at an employee again?
Do we just advertise for one like we've done in the past? Local?
We can.
We don't get too many hits.
No, you know, we have a tough time finding people to do it, so we might just talk up
How many hours average is it?
between, I mean, we have done between 10 and 20 hours a month. I mean, it's not very many.
And how much have you paid them in the past?
We have actually kind of bid this, and people bid how much they would get paid. We've been paying Mike Norris $10 an hour for a couple of years.
So we just want to put something in the paper and advertise, see if we get one, or?
Yeah, but I might also talk with some firms and see if anybody has any interest in that, and we can look at hiring somebody too.
Like Mike Frank's wife, she does a lot of that.
Yeah, her name comes up, I think, quite a bit.
Oh, she'd be interested.
No,
Probably won't work for
$10.
$10 an hour though.
No, probably not.
I doubt that.
I don't think so.
Marcia used to do it.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
What we
6
pay you?
years.
Huh?
6 years.
What we pay an hour?
Probably $10 an hour
Well,
back
it
then.
started at that, but I got a raise every year.
That's what I thought.
I think I was like $12.50 or something like that.
That's what I was thinking, and you were around 12.
I was well worth it too.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, golly,
You
absolutely.
did a good job.
I know, it
You did.
hasn't been the same since.
I would agree.
Position's open again.
Please apply.
There you
Hey, you wanna put Eric? Maybe he wants to do it.
No.
Oh,
I guess not.
well, that didn't go very far.
Okay, well, we'll advertise. And just recycle bins. Hearing from Rob Rudd about how many recycle bins he's having to provide for us. You know, he does provide recycle bins for all residential customers. And we go through, God, I suppose we'll go through 6 or 8 of them every month. And you know, it's just him providing 6 or 8 of them up here for new people who move in and the previous person took their recycle box with them, or people who've never had one, or it got lost along the way, or whatever the excuse is. Generally, if people come in and say, I need a new recycle bin, we would give them a new recycle bin. If they come in and say, well, I broke my recycle bin, I'd like to have another one, we have charged people for that before, if they've done something of their own doing. But generally it's free, but Rob provides the boxes to the city for free. Just getting a little concerned about that you go watch somebody move out of their house and now they're not only using their recycle bin to carry everything out of the house, they're using 3 recycle bins to carry things out of the house. You know, it's concerning.
Are we able to just regulate it 1 per
Well, I just don't know how that happens, you know, because even if a new person moves in a home, you don't know that they have a box.
Yeah.
What about putting a deposit on them so
That's
they
what
don't
I
I'm
go away?
supposed to have like 8 of them for the apartment, I ain't got any.
That's what I was thinking, John, was
Deposit.
some sort of a deposit,
Yeah.
and, you know,
They'll come back a lot quicker if they get a refund.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Well,
And
they'll
not-
give
and
you
not they own
$5-10
it.
bucks.
Yeah, they own it,
if it don't come back, at least you got paid for it.
yeah. Whatever you guys wanna do.
So then you
So
get
what-
He
people
doesn't
bringing them.
charge the city?
No.
Well,
You know, he
Not
needs
yet,
to
he's
provide,
going to.
he needs to provide that as a recycling service.
well, indirectly in his fees that we get charged.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't think he's really liked providing them, but he always has. But we always get recycle bins that have been recently cleaned. Okay, they are used recycle bins, and then we use them again. Now, and I'm pretty sure they're coming from Sac City. You know, he recycled up at Sac City for a lot of years, and then they went municipal. When they went municipal, he got all his boxes back from them. So I think that's where a lot of them come from, and I don't know if you get down to the end of those or whatnot, but
But
he's a
the
little
other
more
thing is
concerned about
too,
that.
if you bring them recycle bins back here, and they're, you know, dirty, sticky, then what? Then somebody's gotta wash them.
We gotta wash them out, yeah.
Or you're gonna have a whole hotel full of ants here, you know?
We'll let the cleaning person do that.
Sure,
Yeah, sure.
put that on the job
Yeah.
description.
So does he just
I
want this to?
I want you to, I guess, know about this and come up with some brilliant idea about how we can address this problem. I haven't come up with anything
Well,
really.
we keep losing them. I had 3 for a while, you know, which was nice, because then, for a long time, we didn't have any. Of course, then people don't recycle. Which really burns me up, because people.
We are
All
at the
these
school,
kids
it's
stealing them.
working very well. We just started recycling bottles and things in those blue recycle bins,
Sure,
but the school did end up paying for them
okay.
from RUD. And that's working out very well.
Makes me mad when I look in the dumpster.
Well, if
and
you
all them
charge people
pop
for a
outs
recycling bin and they
and
don't,
Lazy
then
people.
they can't afford it, let's say,
Yeah,
then we're not encouraging them to recycle.
exactly.
But if they're paying a deposit on the electric when they move to town, what's another 10 or 20 bucks? Either they go to Wall
Well,
Lake.
because it's already $2.50,
Yeah,
and people have a problem with that, I'll tell you. I usually end up going without anything, so they can make the deposit. So I don't pay their electric bill.
yeah. 'Cause years ago, the city was stiffed with a lot of electric bills that people just did not pay, and we went after them years ago. And
I
they
ain't
put that
saying
deposit.
it's too high, it's just that
Yeah, well, yeah.
if we don't wanna raise, you know,
He's gonna give us so many till he charges us for the
you know,
boxes.
you don't wanna pick up people, because that, you think that keeps people from coming to town. Well, to me, that keeps them from coming to town if you get your rates too high too.
We have a similar situation with totes.
Yeah.
We probably lose about 100,000 totes a year.
100,000.
It's a lot.
And bring them with the lids on?
The ones that with the folding.
We'll haul in 15, 20 semi-loads a year. It's the cost of doing business, that's the way we look at it. And I think he's gotta look at it the same way.
Of course, I think, of course, not, it's kind of off the subject here, but when we have cleanup day, as far as I'm concerned, like last year, when you start charging people to put stuff out to pick it up, I think you just, well, not do it at all. Because we didn't hardly get nothing last year. And even if it's appliances or whatever, I think we're doing the town a favor, the whole city, not just the people, but everybody a favor by getting the junk out of town. You know, and us, that's one day we ought to just foot the bill, as far as I'm concerned. And get the crap out of this town, you know?
Speaking of getting crap out of the town, you guys should go out to the dump. People are dumping toilets and other crap out there,
Oh my God.
so.
Really?
Yep, I was out there the other day, I drive through quite often to see those. But I think we can put a camera up for $600, we can run power down to there, it's something we should think about. Once we get abused, DNR someday is just gonna shut us down,
Well, I know.
if we don't make any effort at all to stop that.
I think we should go back to closing it at night and open it up in the morning then. I don't think they
It
do it in
is.
the daytime, do they?
The people still gotta come up here and check
Still
out.
not gonna get a key, yeah.
But there
Was it
for
locked
there for a
now?
while,
But still.
that gate was open a
Yeah,
lot.
Yeah.
open a lot
It
during
really
the time.
wasn't open a
Yeah.
lot.
Well, we kinda leave it in the fall, when people
Okay,
are
about
raking
time, we
leaves.
gotta have a place to drop the key so she can go out and get it.
Yeah.
No, but I mean during daylight, like 8 to 5, have it open and,
Well, that's what kind
Well,
of.
you know, it's, you just, you run,
I
you
know, it
run the
goes that
risk
way
of
for
so
about
much,
2
so many
weeks and then
problems.
pretty soon
But I'll
it's
tell you
open
when
all the
it's
time.
open, and I think it's probably a big problem, is on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's weekends,
When
I
it's,
think,
it is, you know, it is supposed to be open from noon to 5 on Saturday.
yeah.
And oftentimes it ends up getting left, open, I
Right.
think, after that. And,
But then you got everybody that's onto that little pool that can come in there, you know, and,
you know, the other thing is that we've done this past couple of years is when it gets to be autumn and leaf raking time, that we do leave it open on Saturday and Sunday
I
all
know you
day.
do, yeah.
And because it's just a service, you know,
Well, yeah.
people need to be able
That's
to
when
get in and
people
out of there.
have time to rate it.
Right.
And they'll bring in a toilet, broad daylight, throw it out.
Solution is gonna be like you said, put a camera down there.
It's the only way we're gonna stop them.
That's the only way you're gonna find
Yeah.
out who's doing it or put it into it.
But if the cameras work as good as the ones on the bus, you just won't hang it
Well, you still got one on the beach.
Well,
too.
we put a camera up and,
There is one down in the north.
Set a
part of Wall
fine.
Hall, but
fine will help pay for the
Yeah,
camera.
because we got a
We
fine.
do, we have
a
fines, we have fines in there. It's just a matter of enforcing that and being able to enforce it against somebody, and some video evidence would help out.
Sure.
Anyway, it would be nice, everybody take a drive out there and see if you can find anything illegal, because it's there.
there.
What do you wanna do about
Electricity
the
on the
bins? Nothing?
Arrowhead side, don't you?
Pardon me?
On the Arrowhead side, you got electricity?
There
No,
is.
that's come from the south road.
But it's probably closer from the south.
Will that just take, what,
Knock
3 or
over
4
a few
telephone
trees.
poles?
Yep. Bill don't wanna do it because he has to cut down a bunch of cottonwoods in the fence line, but it can be done pretty easy.
up.
Yeah, I think that'd be the way to do it.
Anyway, it's something to think about anyway, but
And I don't know that we need an answer on the recycle bins, but we do need to be thinking about that. And, you know, because the answer can be it's cost of doing business, but we will turn around and have that cost passed on to us at some point.
Sure. I don't know if we need,
Or if you think that this is a service to the customer that the city would buy.
And then I'll take them for sure.
Yeah, it makes you wonder.
I'll tell you, we got a problem at our, you know,
Well-
people take them, you know, they just,
They're a really nice box, and
yeah, they are.
you know, people like to carry heavy stuff around in those things.
You ever call Heffley out of Des Moines, they're a record company. They probably got 20 or 25 of our totes. I seen it on, they were pulling a semi out. They'd bring out the old totes full of chains and start. They might have thought we were a subdivision of them or something. I don't know, but it's amazing how many, you know, you service 17 states and you're at least 600-700 miles away.
Yeah.
And you go past, sometime, pay attention, go past convenience stores, guess where they're sitting? Right outside the door.
You
And
don't
that's-
have to pick them up as you're driving around.
Well, no. My son was at a swap meet down in Joplin, Missouri, and the guy had about, I suppose 75, 80 of them sitting there, trying to sell them. He pulled up in a farm van and started loading them up. He said, "What are you doing?" "Taking our totes back." He said, "I'll call the cops." He said, "Let's do that." He didn't say anymore.
Got a hell of a job, didn't he?
Yeah. What else we got?
Sac County League is Thursday night, starts up again for the year, up in Sac City at the Cattle Company. Anybody interested for a 6:30 on Thursday?
I'll be there.
I should be there.
Me too.
Me too. Joy will be.
Okay. Okay,
Eat at 6:30.
I could be on the fence on that.
on the fence?
Well, it depends on what happens with my father-in-law.
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah.
Social hour at 6:30 and they eat at 7. That's it?
That's it.
Motion to adjourn?
Got it?
Second?
Second it?
Meeting adjourned. Thanks for coming, guys.